It's first off, it's lovely to see all your faces this morning. Um, Thank you for taking some time out of your day to tune in and share this with us. Yeah, that's the first order of business is I want to make sure that I'm loud enough for everybody to hear me. So if at any point um, you can't hear me, I'm too quiet, just kind of raise your hand or give me some kind of sign language so that I'll know that I need to speak up. That's a continuing uh, item that I have to work on pretty much everywhere in my life. My wife tells me that my voice is just such that it doesn't tend to carry out of the 6 feet around me. So as we're distancing, it's hard for people to hear me, which is interesting because as I was looking into some of the material about the power of this month. You know, the each of the 12 powers also has a part in the body that is associated with that power, and for power, it's the root of the tongue or your throat, and tends to be associated with our voice or with our communication, and so I don't know. It just kind of struck me as appropriate that that one of my continuing kind of personal projects kind of lines up with what we're talking about this month and what I've been asked to speak about today. So the theme of connecting with power really is a rabbit hole for me. The more that I was thinking about it and praying and meditating on it and doing some reading and looking at some of our unity literature, the more it continues to strike me that as we talked about the 12 powers, it's 12 abilities that everybody has. We're born with them, and as we grow, we as with everything, some of us get good at some of them and not so good with others. And, I think about it as, these, I guess I'll use a metaphor of muscles. Of, the more we use them, the better we get, the stronger we get. And, if we neglect them, then they tend to atrophy, and then if I want to build it back up again, then it takes more effort to kind of get started, and then the more I practice it, the better I get. And so it's important for me, with respect to that, is if I want to intentionally strengthen that ability, I need to know, what do I do? I mean, with a muscle, it's easy to say, like, okay, if I want to strengthen my arm, I need to lift something with my arm, and the more I lift, the stronger it gets, and then I can lift heavier things, and then it gets even stronger. But how do I know when I am strengthening my power? It also, referred to as dominion or mastery. And so for me, it prompted kind of, like I said, this rabbit hole of just becoming an observer of my life and of my behavior, and looking at things and saying, okay, when I'm taking this action, am I strengthening my connection with with that ability of power, of mastery, or am I letting that atrophy? And so it's it led me to kind of, I've got this list of examples, I guess. I strengthen that ability when I intentionally take time in the morning to observe my prayer practice and to meditate. Um, I strengthen that connection when I intentionally take time out of my day to read spiritual literature. And I've come to realize that my dominion, my mastery, my power does does not extend beyond here. I have if I work at it, I'm not going to say I have it today because that's not true. But I aspire to someday have complete mastery over what goes on inside my head, or at the very least what comes out of my mouth. But I think a big obstacle that tends to get in the way of it is fear, because I can get really wrapped up in what someone else might think of me, or what the economic consequences of a decision that I'm making could be, or 100 different things that all come back to the same fear of what if I'm not enough? And and that's where the things I just mentioned help, is that when I'm praying and when I'm doing my meditation and when I'm reading literature, when I take time out of my day to come participate in this a Zoom meeting, or come to the church when that's when we're having our in-person services, those things, those are conscious decisions where I'm saying, okay, I'm doing this work to strengthen my connection with, with Spirit, God, whatever word you want to use, and when that connection is strong, that's when I feel like I can have power, when I can have mastery over, over my thoughts, so that, that gives me the ability in the moment to actually make conscious decisions about what my actions are going to be. And, and along the same lines, the more I take an action that's rooted in power, the easier it becomes the next time to take that same action, And so, what that means in my life is that, I demonstrate my power when I, take time to be of service to someone else, whether it's, doing the dishes to be of service to my family at home, or, taking some food to someone who's recovering from an illness or a surgery, or, even something as simple as, when I run into somebody out in the world and that interaction hits me in a way where I feel attacked or I feel threatened, and I can respond with compassion and love and understanding instead of retaliating with with more negativity. That's how I can demonstrate and strengthen my power in my life. When I choose to to put on a face mask when I go into the grocery store because I want to be considerate of other people, whether they think I'm being silly or not, or I don't know. I'm really good at telling stories in my head about what other people are thinking about what I'm doing in the grocery store. I guess there's still some self-centeredness kicking around in here, but it's it's all part of the same journey. So I don't know how long I've been talking. Let me check the clock here.
10 minutes.
10, okay. So, Yeah, and I think it's I think it's been it gets more challenging during times like this time right now where we we don't have so much face-to-face contact with each other. And for me, um, I don't know how many of you have read anything like from Neil Donald Walsh, but the truth that I know today is that humanity and our relationships and our interactions with each other, um, it's God experiencing him, her, itself, through us. And, so when it's, in the midst of a global pandemic where we're encouraged to, keep our distance and stay in our own homes and, and take those kinds of measures, it means that I've got to reach out a little bit more in order to have those interactions, because it gets really easy to isolate. And especially when factor in, like, been working from home for the last 6 weeks, and so it gets really easy to just kind of narrow in on kind of what's going on directly with me and right around me. And it takes, for me, it takes some extra effort to remember to pick up the phone. And I've been blessed, receiving calls from my prayer chaplain, and then a couple other calls just from other members of the congregation here, just for no reason than to just call and say, hey, are you guys doing okay? And I had no idea, until afterwards how much that would fill me up. And and I guess that's if there's one thing that I'd like to get across today, is that we have a tremendous power and a tremendous ability to love each other. To it doesn't take a colossal act of humanitarianism or philanthropy to make someone's day with a phone call or an email or whatever. It's the little things really can have a huge impact. I know they have for me, and I know that I try to pay that forward, and like take time once a day to think about someone else, to do something for someone else, and have that intention and take that action to use my power to to serve one other person, or on a good day maybe it's several other people. And that to me is the best of humanity. It's the best of of our spiritual nature. And I know that Nancy talked a couple weeks ago, and she had some wonderful examples of how that spreads, and how the difficult times that we've been going through have really brought out the best in many different people and organizations. And it was something I really needed to hear that day, because I'd been just in this dark mode for a couple of days, and and it's good to have reminders of of all of the good things that that can come out of whatever, because whatever I may think about things, whatever opinion I might have, the truth that I know today is that God is still in charge, and we are working together in our lives, and God is working through us to bring us to the place where we ultimately need to be. And it's a pleasure and it's an honor to be able to participate in that in a small way or any kind of way. So I think that's that's the message that I have to share with you guys today. I am blessed to have the opportunity to do it with you. And if you feel comfortable now and you want to relax, and we're just going to do a few minutes of meditation. And I think I'm just going to I'm going to borrow the concept that we use when we do the prayer, and when we do the offering, the collection, and so if we just kind of take a minute to kind of bring ourselves into our spiritual center, and as we feel our heart beating and the breath in our lungs and the air as it moves through our nose and mouth and throat, feeling the life within us, and just taking a moment to feel, or if you can't feel it in this moment, then imagine this connection with the spiritual consciousness of your being, the higher consciousness that binds all of our spirits together as one. Envision it as a beam of brilliant white light, shooting right through the center of your body. See threads of light shooting out from you to the people in your life, the people you live with in your home, the people that you connect with in this congregation and at work. In the grocery store, on the highway. A brilliant web connecting every human being on this planet. And see those threads as conduits of love, flowing in both directions at the same time. And as the love flows between each and every living soul, it fills each soul with warmth and safety. And peace. Thank you, God, for giving us the gift of fellowship, of connection with each other, for allowing us to experience love through each other and experience your will and your peace in our lives. Giving us the power to reject fear and embrace faith and love through our actions and through our thoughts. Amen. Thank you.